Hi there, I'm Dingo, the inventor and supplier of the little Dingo servo mounts, and this video is going to show you just how to put one together. One word of caution before you start: you will be folding some aluminium pieces. Now there are folding aids in the pieces in order to help you fold them, but you cannot fold the aluminium and then fold it back again because it will break off. So please make sure you read the instructions carefully and follow the steps as they come up. Make sure that you only fold the aluminium once, and there will be a really good high quality mount when you're finished. Let's get on. Hi there, my name is Dave and I'm going to demonstrate the making of one of these Micro 8 servo mounts. So you take you through all the steps and show you how it goes together. Right, first of all, you will need something like this, which is my little folding block. It's just a piece of wood stuck onto another piece of wood. The only thing you need to know is that the width of that piece of wood there, that width needs to be less than 20mm. Other than that, it's just an ordinary piece of plain timber. You can see I've been drilling holes in this one, but that's beside the point. Then you will need a Micro 8 kit, and you will need a 9G servo in order to put this all together. Now, the tools I use is this, which is a posi drive screwdriver, and number 1, which is a vital piece of kit. You can't really do it without that, and a pair of long nose pliers, quite useful, and also a pair of small side cutters can come in quite useful at one point in the assembly. Then you'll also need something like this. This is a servo tester. This one I bought off eBay, and it just has a 5-volt supply on there. And when you turn the knob here like this, you can move your servo. If I plug this particular one on here, you'll see what I have in mind. As I move that knob, so the servo moves from side to side. This one also has a nice feature, and if you push that little button there, it puts it in what is known as neutral mode, which is exactly center, which is really what we need this thing to do in this assembly. Right, so let's get started. Oh, by the way, you will also need to download the instructions off our website for the Dingo Micro Servo. Get that in front of the camera. The Micro 8 servo instructions. Okay, let's get going. First of all, open the kit. Make sure that you do it carefully because there's lots of little screws and things in there, and sort out all the bits and pieces. Make sure that you have everything that you're supposed to have, and you will find that in the back of the instruction there is a set of pictures of what you should have, and also a list there of what needs to be in the kit. Right, we can leave all that over there for one moment, and the first thing we need to pick up is this animal here. This is the frame, the main frame, and it has 3 folds. One is across there, and the other 2 folds are across there and there. I always start with the top fold, so you line up your folding edge with the edge of the timber. I'm just trying to make it more visible. Let me just move the camera just a little bit. There we go. Right on the edge of the frame there, and you just need to hold it tightly on the top and push down, and it will fold perfectly on the line. Once you take it off, you'll see it's not quite 90 degrees, so just a little tip on the top there like that will bring that up to a 90-degree fold. Now the other 2 wings fold the opposite way. So once again, put it on there, push it down, turn it around, push it down, and that's most of the hard work done. You will see that the wings are not completely folded in, which is good. We need it to be like that at this point in time. Now we can get rid of that block. We can carry on with the unit as it stands. The next thing we need to do is to open the servo packet, and in there you'll find a packet with some screws and actuators and the actual servo itself. Now I am quite careful with these things because there are times when you get them, they come in the packet, because I buy these cheap off eBay, and yeah, you will find that some of them don't work. So make sure you get it on, and let's get it into a mode where we can turn it, make sure that it operates from side to side, and then we'll eventually pop it into the center mode. Then we can disconnect that and put that to one side. By the way, this unit over here is a servo test that I built myself off a Merg pocket money project, and it works just as well as does the cheapy ones from eBay. Right, now you need to find 2 screws which are M2 by 6, these 2 here, and you'll need 2 M2 nuts as well. Then we take the servo motor and we put it through the back of the servo with the spindle to the top edge. That's the top edge, because that will screw underneath the board, your track layout board at the end of the day. So that way around, I find the easiest way is to take one of these screws and to pop it through the back like that, and then just pop the whole thing through the hole. Screwdriver onto the screw there, and just pop the nut in there, and a little bit of gentle backwards and forwards twisting should get the nut to seat. Once it's set, then you can take the other screw, put it through the bottom hole. Sometimes these holes are a little bit tight because the various makes of servos sometimes vary a little bit. Not a big problem. If you need to, if it's really bad, you can open up the hole. Oops, that's what you've got to be careful, these little screws. Open up the hole just a little bit. It's drilled at 2.2 millimeter, which should be more than adequate for a 2mm clearance. But if you want to, you can drill it out to 2.5 or something like that. There we go. So that's the motor mounted into the bracket. Put that to one side. The next thing we need to do is to take the actuator plate. Now these holes here, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, those 5 are tapped M2 for some little screws. With the actuator wire, you can put it in that direction, and if you do, then you will need that hole, that hole, and that hole. If you want to do a horizontal pull, then you would need those 3 holes. So kind of need to make up your mind before you put the screws in which holes you want to use. You could also kink this wire over here and have a dog leg if you wanted to, if you had to, maybe mount the servo motor away from the point, so that you could avoid a strut under the layout or something like that. Let's assume for this particular case that we're going to put it vertical like that, and so we'll put a screw in that hole, that hole, and that hole. Now these screws are quite tiny. They're M2 by 3, quite tiny little screws. I find it's quite good just to drop them onto the end of the screwdriver and then just a turn or 2. I should have a few more of those somewhere. There we go. Another one there. Oops, and the third one. I'm not tightening these screws all the way in, I'm just running them into the threads so that I can then take this actuator wire and just put it down at some stage. We won't put it in right now, we'll put that in later, but that just gives us bits we need to do. Now, the other thing you need to do is this little piece, which is the bar that moves or actuates the switches. So you'll need to put that in the opposite side to where the screws are. It goes in from the other side, and a nut on the end of that. Oopsie, it was there a minute ago. And that all screws up like that. Just a little tweak with the long nose pliers, and that's nice and tight. Right, that's our actuator bar. We can now fit that into here. One thing I meant to say is before you start doing anything, you should just check that there's no swarf on these arms and that they actually slide in there quite easily. Most cases they do, but it's always worthwhile checking. Now the next thing to do is to open this packet of little duty gaffers, and I tend to use that particular actuator arm. It works for me. Pop that onto that. Now we need to just double check that our motor hasn't moved. I can then swing it from side to side. But at the moment it's in the middle with that switch there. She's pretty much in the middle. It doesn't quite get to the middle, but it's close enough. Okay, then out of these screws, there's the smallest one, the tiny little one, drops in the top of that, and with a screwdriver we just pop that all the way down. There we go. Now when we put the actuator in, you'll see there's a whole string of holes there. I tend to catch either the first or the second hole with the locking screw. That's about the best to get the right sort of movement in the unit. Okay, now we need to put this in. Remember, we didn't bend the wings all the way in, so we can put that in and then bring the wings carefully into a 90-degree stage. Don't go too far, otherwise they will lock up. Just make sure it's about 90 degrees like that. And that's our actuator in. Now, this is the tricky bit, and I'm going to bring that back just to support things a little bit. Hope you can see that. Now we need to take this little screw, not that little screw, this little screw, and pop it through there and into the plastic bar there, into the second hole I'm going into, and just a couple of turns and that'll tap into the plastic quite happily. Make sure if you look inside there that the screw does not go too deep in and catch onto the plastic of the motor housing, if you can see that. It needs to be clear there, because when it moves it mustn't catch on the plastic. So I'm going to back that off just a half a turn. Okay, having done that, let's take the old tester one more time. Get it onto the normal operating range and pop that on there. Now we can see that the unit operates as we want it to. Okay, right. Final stage is to mount the switches onto the unit. That's assuming you're going to use the switches. Now you will have in the pack two little nut plates, and this is where the long nose pliers come in. If you hold the one, you can just kink it over a little bit and you end up with 2 nut plates. Now these are tapped M2, so the screws will go, whoopsie, the screws will go quite happily into there. Now with this particular unit you can put a switch on either side, or you can put 2 switches on one side. If you put 2 switches on one side, you will need the long screws, which are these 60mm screws. As you can see, that will go through there and will give you, then you can put it down through there and get 2 switches on. Or alternatively, what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to put 1 switch on, and I'm going to put it on this side. So the switch goes through the holes there, the lever is to the top edge, and nut plate on the back. The first screw in, and then, whoops, that's correct. And then the second screw goes down the other side and into the nut plate. Now, what I suggest you do at this point in time is you just lock the switch and nut plate up on one end. The joy of the nut plate is that you don't have to have a spanner on the back because it will hold itself in place, so you just need to use your screwdriver. Then we need to put our actuator wire through there, and wherever we want it, I suggest you lock up the middle screw first. And once you've got it through the baseboard and you've got your height right, then you can lock up the other 2 screws as well. Right, we're almost done. The last thing we need to do is to then fit the unit under the layout, and you have 2 fixing screws here that will hold that quite nicely through these 2 holes. And then what you need to do is you need to set your 2 end points with whatever controller you're using to drive your points. Assuming that that's the end there, then all one needs to do is to just loosen those 2 switches and slide it all the way up until the switch operates, and lock it up. And then every time the unit comes back to that point, it will operate the switch with the arm. As I say, these units will accept up to 4 switches, 2 on either side if you need to. The kit only comes with 2, but other switches are available, and you can buy them either from us or from wherever you normally buy your switches. And that is the unit, all ready to go. And if one then puts that onto something like this, this is my test board, and this unit over here is a Merg servo controller, a 4 servo controller, and it goes as I turn the switch. I get the same positions every time. And that, as I say in the classics, is that. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your building and enjoy your modelling, and I hope we'll do lots of business together. Thank you.